So this particular evening, we'll be able to hear the amazing work of three friends from all across the state, representing different spaces and different places, um, and then ask a few questions and do this amazing work that we constantly do. Um, to begin the evening, I'll read all bios and then we can get into the actual poetry. I've asked all the poets here this evening to prepare work, new things or old things, whatever floats your boat, a nice, comfortable space to read, um, and then we can get going. Um, we can go from there. So, in no particular order, Ayokunle Falomo is Nigerian American and the author of Americant, African Americant Flower Song Press 2022, who just dropped the cover of his book just a couple of days ago. Super excited for this collection. Two self-published collections and African American New Delta Review 2019, selected by Sella Sederstrom and the winner of New Delta Review's 8th annual chapbook contest, a recipient of fellowships from Vermont Studio Center, McDowell Colony, and the University of Michigan's Helen Zell Writers Program, where he obtained his MFA in creative writing and poetry. His work has been anthologized and widely published in print and online. The New York Times, Houston Public Media, the Michigan Quarterly Review, the Texas Review, the New England Review, Right About Now, among others. CHIBBI ORDUÑA, he, they, is a Mexican-born, Texas-raised queer poet, publisher, editor, and actor, director, and co-host of the Words and Shit virtual talk show and podcast, and two-time San Antonio Slam champion. He is the director of virtual programming for Right About Now and editor-in-chief of the Mixtape Literary Magazine. He has self-published 2 books and was the co-editor of the anthology Contra, Texas Poets Speak Out, Flower Song Press 2020. His work has appeared or is forthcoming in the Texas Review, Waxwing, the Acentos Review. That's right. The BK Defunct Voices, De La Luna, Wax 9, Homology, Honey Lit, the Latino Book Review magazine, BuzzFeed, We Are Me Too, with George Takei, Button Poetry, Right About Now, and elsewhere. You can follow him on Instagram at Gemini Eyes and Twitter at Gemini Eyes Poetry. And then EMMY PEREZ, who is the author of With the River on Our Face, Solstice, and a forthcoming collection of new and selected poems. Her work has appeared in the anthologies The Long Devotion, Poets Writing Motherhood, What Saves Us, Poems of Empathy and Outrage, Ghost Fishing and Eco Justice Poet Anthology, Other Musics, New Latina Poetry, and other publications. PEREZ served as the Texas Poet Laureate for 2020 and is U.S. Poetry Fellow for 2022. She is also the recipient of the fellowships from the Academy of American Poets, the National Endowment for the Arts, Canto Mundo, and others. In 2017, she co-founded Poets Against Walls Collective, and in 2019 was the inaugural recipient of the Modesta Alvia Award in her hometown of Santa Ana. PEREZ has lived in Texas borderlands for over 20 years and a professor of creative writing at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. My thanks to all 3 of you for joining me this evening. To kind of set the tone for the night, I'm going to read one piece and then I'll turn it over to Ayo to get things going. Because it's kind of the start of a new school year, and Ayo and I will be in classrooms this fall, I decided to pick this poem. It's contrapuntal. All of you folds into me. Go ahead, ask. There is a box. It's in the garage, your name on a class roster where I celebrate you. It's just a moment to keep from feeling you are supposed to forget me. I will tell you already a something of you in it, perhaps a photo, an artwork. I won't name this. I mourn when you leave me. I collect the little bits of you abandoned, and all of you folds into me. Go ahead, ask. I will tell you already there is a box, something of you in it. It's in the garage, perhaps a photo, an artwork, your name on a class roster. I won't name this. When I celebrate you, I mourn you when you leave. It's just a moment. I collect the little bits of you to keep from feeling abandoned. You are supposed to forget me, and all of you folds into me. Whenever you're ready to go, sir.
All right, what a way to start. And thank you again, Lupe, for having me here. And I am very, very excited to be reading with Emmy and Chibi tonight. I'm going to be reading just like a combination, I guess, of like old poems and somewhat new poems. And I'm reading pretty much everything that's like being published like recently. So you can either find them online or in a print publication. And yeah, I'll start with a poem called Intro to Hermeneutics. And this will be coming out from Third Coast Magazine in the newest issue of it. The image I have of home is shaped like a question mark. What started as a father's desire for greener pastures now a sore his son cannot unroot. Have you heard the one about the arboretum that was an army base a century ago? On a tree log, 15 turtles sunbathing. I counted. Elsewhere, a squirrel returns to find the tree that once was home is now a stump. Nearby, 3 men are mowing the grass of a cemetery as the sunflowers turn to face the sun. Of what use, tell me, is beauty to the dead? Even in summer, I'm kind of blue, so what? And this is what I know of solace. Even Picasso was said to have painted for 3 years or so in shades of blue and green before his rose period began. Soon, the summer will be over. How long is it? The distance between denial, where I yelled, I can't believe it, at every tourist attraction, and acceptance, where I am yet to arrive. I keep walking. The trail opens into a cemetery. It is a kind of reward. The lake waiting in the middle of a long hike. The view is nice, I'll give you that, but I am sore. As with one's life, each day is a satchel, and it contains as much as one can fit inside it. The antidote for loneliness is not company per se, but hell, I'll take it. Today there's Nina in my ears, red cardinals, hawks, miles, ducks skittering on the surface of the lake, Langston on the mind. My name's the joy that fills the house. This name is mine. 5 snail shells arranged in a circle. Too often I forget. Too often I forget my name, oh Sun Ra. What looks like a tightly braided rope but might be dung. This mushroom like a dog's droopy ear. That squirrel, tiny enough to fit inside a child's palm. This butterfly, fluttering like a promise, as though it were a guide. I followed it, and in the end, a field. But then, what isn't a field? In the middle of this one, an orange soccer ball like a personal son. My teeth bruising the skin of a peach, its juice dripping down my beard. I run through the length of the field, all mine. The next poem is called Against Certitude. Um, I started writing a series of like against poems, and some of them are like they're pretty much like self-explanatory. But this one, along with the previous poem I read, will be coming out in Brink Literary in October, I believe. Against Certitude. The first mistake of the fattened bull was letting the farmer know he was aware of the plans he'd made for him. Stupid bull. Should have broken out one quiet night in February and wandered into another life. Like writing blank when you mean black or black instead of blank. I surely meant servitude instead of certitude. Why not keep going? With thorns or not, a rose is still a rose, and a clearing is only a field by another name. If you let it, impossible or impossible can mean precisely that. Stare long enough at a gray rock, and it might become something to be fascinated by or with. Like a man breakdancing in a straitjacket, I understand what freedom is and what it's not, and I too want my 40 acres and a Moscow mule. Dear stranger in the mirror, whoever crowned you ringmaster must be a clown. As for your most beloved pet monkey who ran away, it would have been best if he never joined the circus in the first place. But I suppose the next best option is to leave without a trace. No monkey can turn a circus into a temple. No matter how long he longs for him, the monkey king will not appear. Along with the series of against poems, I started writing another series called In Defense of. And this one is called In Defense of Linear Narrative. And it was published in Slice Magazine, pretty much the last issue of Slice Magazine, which I feel very grateful for that I was able to be published by them before Slice is over. I hope it comes back around. But anyways, here's In Defense of Linear Narrative. If I should see my father cry, would he then become human to me? I am agog for the end of every demagogue's regime. My regimen for grief, the blues. From here to here is movement too, I guess. The most efficient place to hoard a horde is where? And how to sing the song that must be sung precisely because it can't be sung. Your name, what does it mean? And the fawn fawning over a fawn? Well, I'm only here to augment what the hawk meant to say before it chickened out. Think of the bodies of water that will never know the weight of your body. Am I to feel sorry for Kierkegaard, who vowed to never forget Regine? Forbear bringing your forebears inside a poem without asking them if you can. I was so pleased with myself when I rhymed Poseidon with Poseidon told your ass. And now I'll introduce my shelved self to the unshelved self. Not every black bird is a blackbird or a crow. Simple enough, right? And the forms that don't privilege sight, well, I want it to be wrong. You hear that pop pop from my hips? That's the dead getting their groove on. To be well known or to be known well, which would you rather have? The next poem is called Etymologicon, and it was published in Tinderbox Poetry Journal. I was actually very grateful that it was selected by the editors as the winner of the Majda Gama Editors Prize a few months ago. So here is Etymologicon. And I should say, Etymologicon is a word that was coined by John Milton. I guess he had a lot of free time because a lot of words that we actually use was like coined by him. Like it just was like making up words as he wanted. So thanks, John Milton. This is a word that was coined by him, and it has an epigraph from John Milton from Paradise Lost. What may this mean? Language of man pronounced by tongue of brute and human sense expressed. The Spanish ended up with aguacate because they heard the Aztec wrong. The original word might or might not have meant testicle. Who knows the truth about how anything begins? All I wanted to do was trace the origin of my sorrow, and where did that lead me? My mother tongue can testify to this. My trouble with language has everything to do with either blood or inheritance. Depending on how you say it, three letters ARA can mean thunder, or wonder, or body, or family. Here's something you might not know. Pandora never had a box. That too was, no, is a mistranslation. Hey Pandora, play Honey from the Jar by Herbie Hancock. Hey Pandora, play Fly Trapped in a Jar by Modest Mouse. Play Jar of Hearts. Play Jar of Cardinals. Listen, I'm trying to tell you something. The next poem, also published in Tinderbox, is called Shibboleth, and it has an epigraph from Judges chapter 12, verses 5 and 6. It says, the Gileadites captured the fords of the Jordan leading to Ephraim. And whenever a survivor of Ephraim said, let me cross over, the men of Gilead asked him, are you an Ephraimite? If he replied no, they said, all right, say Shibboleth. If he said Sibboleth because he could not pronounce the word correctly, they seized him and killed him at the fords of the Jordan. 42,000 Ephraimites were killed at that time. First, you lose the particular way your mouth once knew to say the word country, or mother, or any word at all. And then you lose your country. And then you forget you ever even had a country. You can't conceal a crack. Even when it is sealed, a sliver remains. Say listen without the T. Say buffet and not buffet. Say arch, not arc. Say air, not hair. Say bear, not beer. Say bum. Say comb. Say numb. Say crumb without the B. Say debt and not mean death. Say honor. Say apple without the H. Say simile, not smile. Do not smile when you are asked where your accent is from. Those strangers can't agree on whether or not you have one. Say dolphins have accents too. And no one ever asks a dolphin where it is from. No one ever asks the light at the end of the proverbial tunnel for its papers. The GPS says it's my Lamb Street, but how do you say it? Me Lamb? If not your voice, your face gives you away. You're not from here. And the next poem is called African American Sonnet, and it is the title poem, I guess, of African Americans. I said I guess because it's the only poem that sort of shares title with the title of the book. So this is African American Sonnet, and it might be weird because it's written to be read from bottom to top, but I will read it from top to bottom actually. If it's confusing, that is on purpose because the experience of migrating to a new country was very disorienting and confusing. So you get to sort of experience that as I read it. African American Sonnet, and it was published by Palette Poetry. To be read from bottom to top with a line from Naomi Shihab 9. Then that I am here, still breathing, even it barely. It means breathing in two countries. Is it betrayal? Perhaps it is true what the poet said of love, how my mouth a sheath, Love and betrayal both are swords. I don't. I know you expect me to think it a betrayal. Return home. Please don't ask if I miss Nigeria. I have been here for more than 10 years and I have not. It belonged to, I ask, this loaf of bread, this jar of milk, know which country to claim. Which country does? Is a border I have to cross to get to the fridge. I don't. Between my father's bedroom and mother's there. To say love. Once I belonged to one country. And now, what I think about America, I know you expect me. And still, I am American, but please refrain from asking. Since we are on Zoom, and this is the last poem I'll end on. Since we're on Zoom, I figured I'll read this poem that was published in Rivermouth Review, and it has a long title, and the title is very relevant to being on Zoom. And it's called "While in a Zoom Meeting Regarding the Work Stoppage Set to Begin Tomorrow at 5 a.m." I really love this poem, I should say, too. I tried to do the whole writing a poem in one sentence thing. I couldn't pull it off, but it was close enough. Ended up being two sentences, but one really long and then the other one. Anyways, that's just me nerding out. The way he's drumming tells me he might be someone I'd love. Were I to have met him, say, on a Saturday afternoon in a park, where I might have seen him sweat, offered him a bottle of water before asking if I can play for a while. And as I leave, my face beaming, I'll try to remember the last time my palm smacked the processed hide of an animal. Only then would I have loved him. I don't hate him, no, not exactly, but like a man hell-bent on killing a fly, I am annoyed at his joy, what makes him drum, which is a disturbance. Is it hate? What I am merely calling annoyance? Look, I know how to be grateful for every sound the living make, even when it punctures through the quiet space I often desire to place my body in. In the apartment I lived in before this one, a neighbor sang for months, almost every Saturday, from the other side of the wall that separated us, which meant she was alive, which was a thing I was and still am grateful for, her being alive, but also for the songs she sang, even though I did not think her a good singer, which she was not, but oh, she sang. This neighbor I never met, unbothered, I assume, by what her neighbors might have thought of her noise. And it was noise, her singing, for she struggled to reach certain notes, but she kept singing as she strummed and did not stop, even when she audibly ran out of breath. And it is only now it dawned on me that to have heard her sing and to remember it now means I am alive. Thank you so much.
Ayo, thank you. That was what? I can't process. That's brilliant. It's like so good. Um, so next this particular evening, we will hear from Chibi because Chibi's got some things to say.
Apparently. Thank you so much for having me, Lupin, for organizing this. I think it's an incredible collection of poets that you've gathered here, what some would consider historically marginalized poets, although maybe we're still actively marginalized. But the truth is, we have always been here. Before the colony, we were eagle, ate snake, Didn't need no 13 stars and bars. Mi gente, we spit talons and beauty. Still somos la celebración. Sunrise in the downpour. Una sonrisa de papel picado. Our story sung in the rooted dirt. Una tierra mojada, the people can clay together. Racing the sugar-driven hummingbird over hallowed horizons. I am ancestor-rooted. Roostering el pasado with sharp-skinned hawk hope in the wisp of prayer. Sister saplings linked, grow a field reaching la gente. El ritmo, tumbando las garras de guerra. This city heartbeats, heel clicks. Mira mi mariachi, a clave beat to a future without fences grading families. Watch me firebrush, see us rock rose. We be sage, cedar, live oak fields. We poof pollen, yes, you sneeze. We embrace the budding you paved over with self-interest. We steep in history, infinitely fighting the urge to horse blinder bullet. We monarch butterfly every angle, the ancestral journey. Somos gloria eterna, el sueño sin fin, la manifestación milagrosa, the moon's desire that moves the ocean's swell. I'm going to do a series of poems. I think a lot of us write because we continue to be told that our voices aren't valid, and sometimes we have to fight back. This one is called The Target Shoots Back. Exiting the club at 2:30 in the morning, a group of Bud Light machos in Make America Great Again hats let my rainbow flag covered ass know that I was a faggot. Their spit pulled the strings of my spine straight, eyes down, mouth shut. I kept walking, but they, being ever so ignorant in the art of subtlety, didn't see the other cheek. They saw an easy target. Said it again. Faggot. And I could have stayed a shadow, said nothing, hoped to just heel click my way to there's no place like home, there's no place like home, there's no place like home. Like we tell women to avoid catcalls lest they become roadkill. But how much longer will we let a group of Jaeger bombs in popped collar polos wave their flaccid, unwelcome advances like a get out of jail free card? The status quo stroke their misogyny on college campuses and courtrooms because silence is permission, passive is complacent. And I'll be damned if Marsha P. Johnson threw a brick for me to hide behind a wall. See, where I come from, faggot is a fighting word. Like I may be a faggot, but I ain't your faggot. I was silent in middle school before I found my voice. I said nothing in high school before I knew my history. Now I brass knuckle stonewall and swing, wonder where would I be without bloody knuckles. Well-behaved women seldom make history, and one lone loudmouth faggot will probably die young. I made myself a target, as vulnerable as paper, to burn like kindle. This is how the target shoots back, when invisibility isn't an option anymore. How a punching bag boxes back fear. How a slap in the face becomes a fist in the air. How a red hat looks like a reminder. A MAGA hat killed Harvey Milk. A MAGA hat murdered MLK. And the target shot back. One bullet sparked outrage, created a riot fire. Trust me, I understand the need to stay safe. But what is life if lived in darkness? Camouflaged in the closet, watching from the gallery. You're not safe. You're just next. And at what cost? Oppression, erasure, a bloody lip. They were gonna do that anyway. Thank you. I'm going to read a series of poems from a chapbook collection that I've been working on for a number of years now, called The Boy and the Circus, tentatively. And I'm just kind of going to go through these. I feel like they are important because people are still trying to silence us. This first one is called Some of Us Aren't Born Right, after Kaveh Akbar. Some of us aren't born right away, more a flicker forming of a womb, some would say wounded. The pierced yolk of a soft-boiled wish to be hard, scrambled and know it, don't know. They aren't the first boy to find feathers in the embers of women that first were fire, before they could be free, before they could be born for the first time. So many seasons after the doctor decreed, it's born, but not really ready to fly. Nesting in a bloody poultice, born with an affliction, shape-shifting, spend their whole lives with kindling in their breasts, too scared to phoenix, the most fleeting lovers foraging for a flame to hatch themselves. Summer simmering. I was 12, billowing between the grass-stained boys of youth or slipping behind bleachers with the weirdo kids. Ultimately, a sunny, sporty day wasn't appealing. Wondering one, skilled at hiding in plain sight. Beneath the bleachers, I saw flowers blazing free, toking on a Sunny D bottle, smiley face stickers, funny-shaped pansies and petunias. Beneath the bleachers, I was a funny-shaped flower, gardenia growing despite the dry season. I met a quiet one in red pants. I didn't know that was possible. My life dandelioned, indefinite, everything on fire. Wandering star. Red pants, white shirt. I thought he was the circus. We jumped through moonlit hoops, balancing phone call conversations, stretching summer nights wide, no thunderous applause, not even an audience, just him and I, two tigers and a tightrope, easy targets for ridicule, potentially lethal. Still, we dared devils. What could possibly go wrong? Midsummer nights grew longer. We traded sneakers. I always wanted to walk in his shoes, kid that ran towards anything that looked good enough to be a bad idea, wind in his hair, glaze in his eyes, pupils so big, top wide, a trapeze act couldn't be this dangerous. He could balance a needle on a vein, and I followed him there. Followed until the back of his head became more familiar than his face. A traveling tour of rumors and whispers, pop-ups at monasteries and rehabs, California or Virginia. I drove through corn-covered farm roads and dead president cities to find him, always better than when he left me, a never-ending encore into my arms before the prestige, a sucker for spectacle. This house of mirrors could no longer conceal an untamed elephant, wild like the ocean. Only the moon could move him. And all that he left was me, the nothing up my sleeves, and the littered fields where a circus once stood. Thank you. This next one is a series of tankas, which was fun. Tanka is like a haiku, but it has 2 extra lines, so it's 57577. So here's a series of tankas. This is called Pedestals. A spectacle on the road. Follow Kerouac, follow Burroughs, queer, junkie, unafraid, howl in America, a hunter. Tied Thompson to your arrow, bent bow, shot fire, fear, and loathing in all directions, a backpack full of stories from where you'd been. Nothing ready for where you were going. The most vivid memory for someone who forgot to keep eyes open. What a show. You thought, what a blast. I thought you were somebody. I thought we were in something like those books we read. But you were just in than out. This next one is a pantoum. I played a lot with form in this collection as a way to bring order to a very chaotic time in my life. And I'm going to read the pantoum and then just go straight into the next poem. This is called Destroying Angel. You wake up from your high to find your family staring down at you instead of oblivious. Do not ask why or how, and sink back into your stupor. Allow yourself instead obliviously staring down a silent sleep, knowing the echo is over. Sleep in your stupor. Allow yourself a quiet surrender. Do not worry. Know the echo is over. Sleep regardless of whether or not you hid the dirty spoons. Quietly surrender without worry. They know now, and it's time for such an intervention. You've never been through this before. Time to leave behind this room, your lies and your dignity. You know by tomorrow you'll be begging for dope or death. You've been through this before. For this intervention, gift yourself the smallest ditch of dignity. You know by tomorrow you'll be begging for dope or death. Be the scarred saint. Hide the reflection of failure. Gift yourself the smallest ditch. A little red baggie of assorted pills, a lifeline for the scarred saint, another reflection of failure. It's not the worst that could happen. When your little sister sees the little red baggie of assorted pills, the lifeline for your blood blackened and bruised arms, don't recoil. It's not the worst that could happen. Your little sister sees your shock. Let her hold you like it's your turn. Your blood blackened and bruised arms. Don't recoil. Be fetal. Don't fight this. Tune in. The tenderness will be a shock, but let her hold you like it's your turn. You'll need it to get through every tick and trigger. Be fetal. Don't fight this. Tune in to the tenderness. You're not beyond returning to the rubble that is getting through every tick and trigger. This is what you've become. Remember every time you returned to the rubble trying to rebuild alone. Remember every failure. It is what you became. Remember every time as necessary weight. Carry it so you don't forget that trying to rebuild alone is a failure. The easiest way to lose everything in the slip of an instinct. All that weight. Carry it so you don't forget your welted arms and wilted life. How easy it is to lose everything in the slip of an instinct. Gift yourself a reminder of the wreckage, your welted arms and wilted life. Never forget you can easily return to the wreckage. Remember all you fucked up. Give yourself permission and never forget you can easily fuck it up. Take the pressure off getting life right. It's all fucked up. Give yourself permission because you already know you're bound to fuck it up. Takes the pressure off getting life right. Do not ask why or how. You already know you're bound to your high. So wake up and find your family. The hereafter. In a hole in the wall sushi bar, eons from the bleachers of youth, when we'd had enough time apart, after we'd lived lives that didn't depend on depending on, you said, I know I wasn't the best to you. I never needed an apology. I needed to know you would be all right. Not the shooting star, the sun, centered and sure. Finally, you and I became the people we were searching for on rooftops and back roads, in the crevices between self and small places. We found so much worth living for. We stop avoiding who we are. We embrace what we can be. Thank you. I'm going to do one more poem because it is a long one. It is called Autumn Always. It is after a poem by Denez Smith. One of the magic powers, one of the superpowers that we have as writers is that we get to create the worlds that we wished we lived in, or that we imagine the future to be like. And this is my attempt at that. So this is Autumn Always after Denez Smith. Every day, we are blessed autumn sun rays, painting our purple skin a blanket of hope. A crisp breeze kissed us melanated, magical even, daring of us to be nothing but authentic, grateful, still. Every weekend we get summer for 3 days, 52 weeks a year, no seasonal depression. Here we grow up never knowing natural disasters. Here we do not see red or blue. We are violet folk, relishing the blend, branches making pinky promise kisses to see every difference as an honorable distinction. I am in elbows over how much we love and love to love, all daps and high fives, a hand slap and a clap on the back. We collect bookshelves of laughter, pull out our favorites, share them like gossip, hear a bellowing cackle, a vamping chuckle, a fluttering giggle, airborne like Jordan, way more contagious than a virus. Here we call every neighborhood our barrio, with a panaderia every other block, or a tamale vendor, or a soul food truck, or a seafood boil, or a burger joint, or a wing stand. The point being, it smells like full bellies in our barrios. In our eternal autumn, the South is only remembered for the kind of food that make you want to slap somebody. These horizons never cradled the sediments of the dead. Our flesh was never fertilizer for tomorrow's harvest. Our blues were always just hues of dawn's departure. The ember-basted trees know no sorrow, bear no strange fruit. All that hangs from their empathic limbs are tire swings. Indigo children are jazz notes without bars, unburdened by staffs, keys, or expectations, and perfectly manicured acrylics never get chipped over gender norms because the norm is undefinable when every child is allowed to decide their plumage for their damn selves. Here, Breonna Taylor is a cardiovascular surgeon. Here, Sandra Bland is a cello-playing music teacher. Here, Emmett Till solos piccolo at the Lincoln Center. Here, Lincoln is remembered mostly for his stylish fashion choices and wasn't assassinated. Harvey Milk wasn't assassinated. Che Guevara wasn't assassinated. Mahatma Gandhi wasn't assassinated. MLK wasn't assassinated. Their names never harbored in the catacombs of our throat, never grew legacies from tombstones, never needed to be remembered for their sacrifice. This is where every day is Independence Day because everyone has always been free. No need for Hispanic Heritage Month, we just have heritage. No Black History Month because Black history is American history. Here, there is no tolerance for intolerance, and the only thing alternative is music. This world does not have triggered fingers, and bullets never make crimson portraits out of innocent bodies. The only scarlet stains on our streets are where pomegranate juice slips with such unceremonious splendor out of the mouths of boys that never learned to pose for chalk lines. Here, 12 is just a number, just another name for the dozens. But in this world, we battle to see who got the best compliments, aggressively trying to find new ways to honor each other, like, your mama's so fine, your mama's cooking so good, your brain's so bright, looks like NASA found a new star. Here. There are no cops. There's no need for cops when we have stern-looking fathers with raised eyebrows on every stoop, ominously bedazzled chunk glass scattered everywhere, warnings of swift judgment. Here, we were all raised right. I am only policed by my mother and every mother. lives to be at least 93. Always see their children grow up. They are not funneled through pipelines. Every city is enriched with clean drinking water. No one has access to Dakota because sacred lands are sacred, period. Do you see the beauty in our autumn? Where there are no kids in cages because it never occurred to anyone to cage those of us that are the most free. There are no refugees because there is no need for refuge. There is no border crisis because there is no border. New worlds were never discovered. This is where we share in what has always been here. The land belongs to no one because we do not know how to claim anything but this joy. This joy is radiant, chaotic, and catching. The sun shines on everyone equally. The clouds do not discriminate where the life-bringing rains fall. And the moon, y'all, the moon is always full. This is where no one is scared to walk home alone in the lavender of night. Here, our plum skin is seen for the royalty we are. Here, they ask. Here, they respect. Here, they walk away when we say no. Here, we say no without fear. Here, our body is our body, and nobody gets to let their lives or laws live in this lobby. We are free to be the celebration, live the glorious gift of today, because here no one becomes a hashtag. Hashtag is just another word for pound sign, not a prefix for the names of innocent starlings that die too soon in this season. No one dies too soon. When we die in our sleep, surrounded by our loved ones, a noble right to seed our souls, our bodies fade into the welcoming dusk, marry the sunset. We are at once nowhere and everywhere, and every memory of us fills the blood of every person we have ever touched. Here, we do not fear death because we have never known loss. Here, we are the dream. Here, we wake up knowing we gonna be all right. Thank y'all. Thank you.
Yes. Chibbi, I need to catch my breath. You doing?
You and me both.
That's amazing. So thank you for that. And then Emmy, a big hug to you. And thank you for joining us this evening. And whenever you want to do whatever.
Oh, hi, everyone. Beautiful poems. I just want to end there. So beautiful and so moving. Thank you both so much. Thank you all. Whew, I don't even know if I should read this next poem because it doesn't really follow from the beautiful poem we just heard. But since I have it ready, I'm going to start with the poem I wrote in the first few months of the pandemic, 2020. And I just want to say I'm presenting today from McAllen, Texas, what is now known as McAllen, which is Ixtocna or Carrizo Como Crudo land, Ende or Lipan Apache Band of Texas land, and the land of Colhuitecan nations, each with their own names. And this poem kind of goes along with that, and it's untitled, still kind of in progress. They speak of capacity as if a heart or brain is a stadium, a superdome leaking after the hurricane. If you have capacity, do you make room for kittens and pauraques in the casita with your loves propped up on cinder blocks before it all launches? How do you anchor your soul when wind whips in your lungs, trumpets at rising water? And if you breathe again with capacity, is the oak still rooted? If not, do the living feel as I have, better it than me? And would we ever have the capacity to seek out the indigenous descendants of the land we own on paper, America, and write nations into patchwork wills decades before our deaths? Would we also pay both mortgage and rent if we have the means? And if home is 100 miles and years away before the seed of unions with another 400 miles and years, must we live with the sting of no true return ever? Go back, a certain America says, especially when back is less than a day's drive south. Some family here, some there, hard to know exactly where they all began. Or when the ancestors arrived enslaved, or when the ancestors arrived Muslim, or when the ancestors arrived with another tongue met with refusal to pronounce or understand. And as for this liberty inked in calligraphy on old parchment or in our own skin, where do I find my place in all of this, with or without the pandemic's flames at our doorsteps? This next one is a new long poem, and it will appear in the fall issue of Wisache magazine. I wasn't going to read it tonight because I feel it is still raw and it still feels in progress, but Lupe has created such a beautiful, inviting space as well as the other poets. And it's also been a really hard year of grief for me. I want to thank Dagoberto Gilb for encouraging me to push through writing this piece, continuing to finish it. You know, I'm still working on it, but it's going to be published in this form. Also, this summer, I have now lived in Texas exactly as long as I lived in my home state of California. I've lived in both places a few decades each. My parents are from the Texas and Cali borderlands, and so now I feel like I am as well. Gotas de lluvia. Rain, like the last day on earth in this body and feeling like a flower. Yes, we can feel like them too. Las gotas de lluvia, las flores, in the languages we never quite learned, beyond what the first Euro ships brought, along with what made and killed us. But we are still here, histories a stumble, a mess, unfolding as we bud on porches like the flowers, palpable as planets. So we wear our hair big, sprayed stiff, show off our legs and dance with dress pants and little chains, looped belt to pocket, like our abuelos wore. Tios wore them longer. We will never be as classy as they and our parents. We will never be as pissed and as seemingly pacified. They turn their heads when chuparrosas box with wings and bills at the feeder, the fastest ways to eat and get high, and then find love till no one will worship the aging body any longer. We all ought to have been filmed in our youth. Now we wear our battles on our faces and welcome pandemic masks removed in public only for good food and our babies' kisses. And gotas de lluvia. And sometimes I desire increase, that thereby my days may be spent making sopa and watering rosales. Some days I dream everything required for the return to my hood for good. It would be kind of romantic to say my children formed of stardust and water gathered heavy from love and pleasure and the bad life, when really they're a magic universe on their own accord, like each lizard in our alley darting in sunshine. La vida que mi mamá y mi papá me dieron. Maybe from love and pleasure and oops, in the midst of forging better lives for them five, better than their childhoods promised in English, speaking Spanish and caló only when necessary. With each other, sometimes it was necessary. And when my senior year came around, my mama didn't say knock you out. She said college and threw me goodbye parties, lunches, bonfires, as older siblings tried to keep smiling, rolled their eyes as if I'd move right back soon enough. My mother was right. The hour drive became flights only I'd take. For her, 3 and 2 day trains, a few times she deemed essential. Decades later, in her final years, even before she fell ill, I tried to move back and I failed. Cali fails me. And it's ridiculous to personify a colonial state, a very real fiction with binding laws and real players as something that cares. Maybe some of our best minutes are interludes and overtures with only hints of plot before another curtain rises. The minutes where we exist barefoot on linoleum floor, stirring measured tap water and grape ice chunk from frozen concentrate in a Tupperware pitcher as the enchiladas bake. When my mother transitioned me from their bedroom to a siblings, she framed an angel on the wall like a window. Siblings always in motion across a bridge with missing planks and side rail with rapids below, with food basket and too late to turn back. Faith is they'll be okay. And when the vintage mic lowers silver from the heavens, we pull it close to our lips, forgetting pandemia, and as if our deceased will hear us. We can introduce the chiseled stars in each corner, rile up the live crowd and the bets before the big fight begins, sell Budweiser in cans the men used to fish out of ice water pools and metal buckets at backyard parties with one-man bands and broom dances. Or we can sing the fuck out of our own lives, never mind the cringing guests and customers. And those who think fuck patriotism like I do, maybe think fuck nostalgia too. But tonight, as I mourn my mother's ascent into the universe, I realize how rap, the Beatles, jazz, rancheras, folk help stall death. My mother's favorite song in her last year and any time she felt the pain was Hey Jude. When I drove back to Texas after the funeral, I wept for the decades I saw her only a few times a year. I thought she'd live at least 10 more and I'd get to cram. I did a bit towards the end, a mad rush to know and serve a beginning. I could argue how I once thought my journeys necessary, forever in debt graduate with brand name diplomas and little knowledge. US America makes us keep working hard for facts and makes us pay for a semblance of equity. My first teacher, my mother, a master storyteller and archivist, all gone now, unless family remembers. My second teacher, the people, my third and always the land. When I moved into her childhood barrio, I thought I'd live there till I died. Ghosts aren't family. Were people she loved, I witnessed in her speech and imagined there the ways she and others lived and suffered. While she was alive, hundreds of miles away, I spent a lot of time in cemeteries with burrowing owls, the oldest vatos guarding their chicks near broken headstones, birds covering my tennies. I spent a lot of time with the testimonios of adult basic education students, college students, and locked up teens and women with fast moving pencils before I moved downriver and continued. Was she proud of me? I'll never know. She wouldn't have wanted to hear this poem. When I decided to have children, we had palpable flowers to tend again together. She just a bit from afar. The distance I made for knowledge with gaps. She was proud of them and suggested I live more in the moment. She had always suggested work isn't life. But what good would it do now to prove anything I chose was right or wrong and to no one? She's gone. And I'm still here, from grief to mourning song. So that piece, I quoted LL Cool J, Shakespeare, and the Beatles. I'm going to end on this really short piece I just wrote the other day. It's not really a poem, it's just kind of like a send off to a friend. Querida amiga, caregiver, warrior, chingona, artista, poeta, seer, truth sayer, communicator, visionary, healer, agitator, no nonsense, confidant, camarada, hermana, prima, tia, vecina, jefa. Your home will never be the same as other dimensions enter and gift you with insight, on love and life as loss makes room for grief. May your days be filled with memories that bring you closer to understanding worlds and intersecting time zones. We're still here and will stay till we can't. You always put pride into perspective, make everyone unashamed to be who they are, becoming and not. To become is to arrive present for an hour, a day, a year, until you arrive again. You are always arriving, and your beloved is too. Querida amiga, caregiver, warrior, chingona, artista, poeta, seer, truth sayer, communicator, visionary, healer, agitator, no nonsense confidant, camarada, hermana, prima, tia, vecina, jefa. We love you. Thank you.
EMMY, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for that. So I guess y'all can all put your cameras on and we can, I'm gonna change the view so that we can see each other's faces on the big screen. So oh my God, this is really good. I'm a professional and I'm gonna keep it together is what I'm gonna do. So I guess the one main question I have before we say good evening, because even though I was halfway complaining about the rain earlier, I thought about the fact that it hasn't rained. So it's a blessing, and I'm kind of glad that it did, because Tlaloc or a few other spirits are doing the good things. So as we're getting to like the middle of August and then September, what's something you're looking forward to, or something that's got you thinking, like not suspiciously, but like what's got you maybe tense a little? So like what's a good thing and then what's a tense thing?
I can go first because my my answer is for both. I'm very excited to meet my students, my 11th graders next week. But I have also been in training every single day for the past almost 2 weeks now, from like morning till like evening. And there's just a lot of information that's being like thrown at me that I'm like very nervous that, I'm gonna mess a lot of things up and forget things. But I'm excited to like meet my students and sort of the conversations. I'm teaching a rhetoric and composition class, so I'm very excited for the conversations that will happen in that space. But also, yeah, very nervous about having a group of like teenagers, in my care. Yeah.
Just don't let them go to the bathroom with their phones. That's it. This is the day one. That'll work. I think that's good. EMMY, Chibi?
Yeah, I can go next. One thing I'm really excited about is basically all of Hispanic Heritage Month. I'm on tour. I'm in a different city every day, except on the weekends, which is I'm really excited for, to just travel and go meet a plethora of college students. Because every time I do performances and work with the college-aged kids, I'm like, oh, there is hope for the future. Okay, you've re-inspired me. And then something that's causing me some tension. I have a lot of work to do on a manuscript I'm trying to get published, and I don't have any time to work on this manuscript I want to get published. So it's there with lots of feedback and notes to incorporate, and I just need to find the time to sit down and do that. Stop editing everybody else's work and edit my own.
Well, It's hella hot here in the valley, as I'm sure it is where you're all at. So I'm looking forward to being able to go back outside again soon. Well, maybe November. Maybe not have the air conditioning blasting all the time, though I'm grateful to have it, and like cheaper prices at the beach, and being able to go to spend time in the land during the day when it's like not like so hot. And then something, so I'm looking forward to that, but that was also something that is like, I feel kind of pent up in the house right now. And so I just need to get over it and just go and just, and this is like motivating me to not wait until November. I just need to go do it. What is really bothering me, I probably shouldn't say. So, but I'll say that.
It's awesome.
How about you, Lupe? Yeah. Yeah.
So kind of like Ayo, I'm about to go back into teaching. I've been gone from teaching for 3 years. I was coaching teachers and writing curriculum. And so I'll actually be starting at the high school for performing and visual arts, only teaching creative writing. And
nice.
It's a weird, like, I don't have my own classroom. They treat it like it's the college level work. So I have an office, and then we teach in several spaces. I get to teach in a theater for performance, like a literary performance class. And so like I'm giddy. I'm like, hey, let's go. So I'm trying to keep it together though. It'll be the first time I teach without having to encourage kids to write or read. Like I don't have to do, like they already want to do that work. So it'll be different, which is kind of cool. And the thing that got me, I don't know, I guess tense, just it's part of the process, right? Like I've put out the second manuscript to see if anybody will hit, and I just keep getting rejections. And so I'm like, and like the latest one was this evening, just before we started the reading. I like looked at my email just before. I was like, what good news? Oh, rejection, screw you. So it's all that. But then I was like, and I'm happy to be doing this. So the juxtaposition of rejections while also celebrating the amazingness of like this project is, it's like tiny versus this amazing thing that's happening. So but that's it right now. So blessings to all of you. Your work is brilliant. The public knows it. Thank you all for giving of your evening. If you're watching us out there, this is the first of 6 readings. Each of these poets to my left and right and off to the corner are amazing individuals. Please follow their work. And we hope you have a really great evening. I'm going to end on one last poem, and then
okay, I was going to say you have to read a poem.
You're not just going to leave us like that.
I got one. You
are the poet laureate.
Yeah.
So I have, what did I do with it? Here it is. This is how to smuggle banned books, because we live in the state that we live in, and I really don't like our elected officials. And so this is a big FU to all the folks that are against having books read and making people feel uncomfortable about real history. So how to smuggle banned books. Do me a favor, yeah? Go in the back, yes, to the book room, see if there is an administrator or the librarian who stack the books where no one can see them. Ask the kids if people tell them they can't read any of the books about Indigenous people or Black people or women or poverty. Ask them how many times they hear this. See if someone says the books are wrong. Get your calendar together and sit in the back of open comment periods at the city council or the school board meeting or in online chats before red hot voices say things like inappropriate or fake, or toxic, or alarming, or anti-American, or unpatriotic, or vulgar. Make a list of books that disappear. Watch the skies in the evening. When you see a pyre, gray smoke, broken promises, count the people there throwing the books in. Find the list and make copies, as many as you can. Hurry. Call everyone. Call the compadres, the comadres, then call the teachers, then the parents, then call the book clubs, then call all the white people last. Go buy a book. Go and buy all the books. Go buy any of the books. Go buy these books. Go buy all of those books. Go buy all the books. Go please buy steel books. Buy ribbon. Write a letter to the mayor's office, CC the newspaper, tell them you want all the books, but you need more. Then tell the publishers to donate. Then go tell the authors you need more of the books that they have at the house that they're going to sell. Then rent a van or a truck, stack the books in sets of 4, cut the ribbon, make cute sets in bows, fill the van, deliver the books directly to them. Damn kids, do this in the day, do this in the night. Give the books away. Imagine they are nuggets of your time or a chit of your heart. Give your heart away. Tell everyone you won't stop, then don't stop. 4 more people will want to help you. Give them a book apiece. Then all of you get back to work. Go get people to do this. Go teach people to do this. This is how you build a huelga, a library, a classroom, a home, a learner. This, querido, is how you light a fire. My thanks to all of you for giving of your time and your energy. You are a blessing, and I love you all. And this is such a celebration. And if you're out there in the world watching, these are your poets. This is your state, and we thank you and we love you. And y'all have a great night.
And this is our 2022 Texas Poet Laureate, Lupe Mendez, amazing person, poet.
Our next reading will be actually 2 Wednesdays from now, August 24th. I will be hosting Andrea Sanderson, Dulcie Valutakaran, and Edward Vidaude. And so that'll be another amazing different reading. And so thank you, Chibi, thank you, Emmy, and thank you, Ayo, for I'm gonna stop writing because y'all, damn, what? Whew, baby. So enjoy your nights. Thank y'all all so much. We'll talk very soon. And con mucho amor, y'all have a great night. Bye.